Welcome to Season 6 of Paper Talk,
where we talk about tips and tricks on navigating and building your small creative business.
I'm Quinn Nguyen of Pingamosi.
I'm Jessie Chu of Crafted to Bloom.
And I'm Sarah Kim of Handmade by Sarah Kim.
In Season 6, we'll be sharing our experiences and insights on running a small creative business, from managing finances to building your brand.
We'll also be interviewing other small business owners and experts in the field to get their perspectives and advice.
So join us as we dive into the world of small creative businesses and help you take it to the next level.
Welcome back to another episode of Paper Talk. Hey, Sarah, how are you doing?
Hi, good. It's been raining in California, so we feel like it's very much Seattle here.
Yes, it's definitely overcast right now. We're recording right about the end of February, and usually it's not the best weather to come up in Seattle during this time, but I do enjoy the slightly warmer temperature instead of the freezing temperature, which is nice. So today's topic, we want to talk about, this is something we haven't talked since Sarah has been a host for Paper Talk, about how to start your business and how we actually transitioned, because Sarah came from a different, I guess not from paper flowers, but from jewelries for weddings, and she switched over. And so I want to interview Sarah today and talked about why she made the switch from creating jewelries, which you think would be like a beautiful, more high-end, I just love jewelry. I think almost every single girl I know have some sort of beautiful ornate jewelry for hair, for their hands, for their necklace. So what made you flip the switch and turn over to paper flowers?
So originally, I actually made paper flowers. I did scrapbooking, I did card making. So that was my first interest in just having a hobby. And really, it's because I love the idea that you can just make anything out of paper. You don't have to invest money into your craft when you're making paper flowers or cards, because it's really just made with paper. And in the beginning, I actually just made it out of maybe even construction paper that I might have had at home, or some old magazines, newspaper. At that time, it was really trendy to make flowers out of book pages.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to thrift books. And so that's where it really started. But at that time, I think I was charging maybe $1 a flower on like my Facebook.
So ridiculous.
And I was like, I'm spending a whole hour making one flower for $1. And it really was just for fun. But in a business stand, I couldn't make a business out of making $1 an hour. So I basically made the same flower, the same shape at that time, and turned it into felt flowers. I then transitioned into like chiffon, silk, satin. And then I was like, oh, I could make flower accessories. And during that time, I actually think it was really popular to have a giant flower on a headband and wear it like a embellished. There was like flowers on our necklaces. There was flowers on our head. It was, I swear, really trendy at that time. I don't know if it is now, but it was like this giant like statement piece. And so I made a lot of those flower headbands, and it picked up at the right time with a buyer from Anthropologie, and I ended up selling a wholesale with Anthropologie and made flowers. And they actually did take some paper flowers too with wholesale to their brand. And yeah, but honestly, my true love came from paper flowers and cards and like paper crafts, rather than figuring out how to bead and sew and solder. I was doing all sorts of weird things with the whole fabric, and making fabric flowers is a whole nother thing. A little bit of a like hat maker techniques where you have to know how to like mold felt and fabric. And it isn't really quite what I loved doing, because I think paper flowers is very forgiving. So you can just go with the flow, and you can always make a lot of mistakes, and it'll still come out with a very good flower, I feel. But fabric flowers, it is a little bit more of a perfectionist type of technique that you have to learn. And any little like fray or any little like jaggedy edges, like it will show, and it ends up just looking kind of messy. Whereas paper, it really embraces the flaws. I feel like you can just cut whatever way you want. And that's really why I actually came back to paper flowers after. I have no idea what really made me come back to it, but I think I came to a point where in my business, I was able to make enough money doing paper flowers instead of going into the fabric flowers. So initially I went into fabric flowers thinking I could charge $100 for a flower versus $1 for a paper flower. And then I want to say maybe a few years ago, you started seeing cards at Target being like a minimum of $6. I was like, okay, now I can charge more than $10. In my head, I was like, I could charge more than $10 for a paper flower. So I came back to the idea, how can I make paper flowers and charge more? And that's my true love in the crafting things that I was doing.
Can we talk about the mindset of charging what you're worth and versus the expectation of people that think I can make a paper flower for $1 and that's how much you should charge? I feel like that conversation right there is such an important mindset for a lot of artists. They think the other person thinks they should charge less. So in their head, they're like, I should charge less to be able to sell more. But really, it's not that way at all. I think as you grow as an entrepreneur, as an artist, you need to stand firm behind your price. And how to stand firm behind your price is actually to think about the bills that you need to pay. And also think about how much you want to be charged per hour. A good example is, let's say minimum wage for Seattle, that's minimum. But as an artist, you really do need to show off that how do I phrase this in such a way that people can understand? As you grow as an artist over the years, your expertise increase exponentially with what you learn and what you pull in and what you educate yourself with. That's how you can actually, because think about it, when people get their bachelor degree, get their master's degree, get their PhD, that is time and education that they're learning and paying an institution to get a higher salary. Why can't you do the same for yourself? Because not only do you have to wear an artist hat, you have to wear an accountant hat, you have to wear a marketing hat, and you have to learn all this. Those are important things that you need to educate yourself to actually promote your art. And turning that switch to that mindset of saying, you know what? I have all this ability, all this experience. It takes me maybe less time than it did at the beginning of my career to make a paper flower, but that's experience that you have learned to be more of an expertise to build out your flower. So you should be able to charge more. I want to bring up different types of analogies so people can understand that mindset is so incredibly important. Like someone else in a different field can charge so much because they have sped up their process. So they're able to charge more because if you think about it, if you hired a beginner and they take 5 hours to do this one thing, but you pay someone a lot more and they can get the same stuff done with just as an amazing quality in an hour. And I feel like as you do progress, that's why people do get to charge more because they're able to do it in a much more knowledgeable and a lot speedier. And that's so important to understand the math behind it of all the things that you need to cover with your pricing. Don't you think so, Sarah?
Yeah. And actually, I feel like the longer I've been in business, I'm not charging per hour anymore. I'm really charging just my experience of being in business for 13 years.
Exactly.
Because you're right. I can now make several flowers in an hour now. I think I timed myself. I think at maximum I could probably make one flower in 10 minutes. So if I could make 6 flowers within the hour, and I actually charge a lot more now, I'm making a lot more per hour in a sense. But to me, it comes with the idea of my experience. It really doesn't come down to the hour anymore. But I feel like when you start out, you should at least get paid by the hour.
Yes, exactly.
And then from there, you can figure out. Yeah, but I think definitely when I first started with my dollar per flower, it was really just for fun. And initially it wasn't for business. And then I think at that time though, it was probably much lower for minimum wage. And I think whatever I was getting paid as my real job, I wasn't making $1 an hour. In my head, I was like, oh, that's good enough because the living expenses were much more cheaper then.
Yeah.
So I do live in California and things are really expensive. So my prices are definitely higher, but it really comes with the whole background of being in business for so long. I've built my name now. So like it really is, if you can buy it from me for much more expensive, or you can buy it from someone that technically isn't as, known, and which would be fine. But yeah, at least charge your minimum hourly cost, which I would think, yes, it should be more than minimum wage. But yeah, I feel like it's going to be a weird research that you have to do with competitors. I also look into different types of people, like making a cake out of flowers. They charge a lot. It's not cheap. Faux flowers that you can buy at Michael's or Joann's, they're really expensive. They're not cheap.
Yeah.
And those are just machine made. So I feel like if you have to put all of those things into consideration, and that you are an artist, you're not a factory running just like a die cut going through faux flowers made with whatever that they make it out of.
Exactly.
So
it's so important. And I also want to talk about the points where there are so many paper flower artists, which is wonderful. I love that there are so many different options all around the world for people to buy or make paper flowers. But I think if you want to stand out for yourself, and this is something that I've also struggled with, how do I stand out in a crowd of people that do the same thing I do? And I think it's about your branding. Can we talk about branding? Because I love your branding, Sarah. I love the way that you present yourself on so many different platforms in so many beautiful ways. And I know that you shoot it once and you cut up that video and you split it all among all the other social media. But can we talk about your brand? How did you come up with the way that you present yourself to the public?
I think it definitely has to do with your personality and your just everyday life kind of thing. And you know how I am a little bit a neat freak, and I do like things that are very minimal. I tend to be very clean on the most part, but not everybody is, and it's okay. And that could go along with your brand in a sense. And I don't necessarily think you have to have a white background and it's going to look clean. You can still have a not messy. I don't want to say it's messy, but you can have different colors and still be on brand. But it really needs to portray like you and your personality. So don't like copy my brand, because my brand is me, and me is very white and very clean and a pop of color here and there. And I feel like over the years of 13 years, I've transitioned because my life is transitioning. So my brand transitions with me in a sense. But I feel like you do have to tone down what you are about and stick with it. So if you are going to have more color than me, then you should stick with it and have an identity within that like style, whatever that style it is. If it's like kind of more like jewel tones, like darker colors, I feel like that can be totally a thing too. That means you might have a darker background. There's a lot of pictures that look great in a black background. So it doesn't necessarily have to be white like mine. And that's very much me. I always have this like kind of white background. But I want to say you do have to have something where it clicks and it goes, oh, that's Sarah, that's Quinn. Maybe it's a style. Like, I don't think it has to be the background color, but that's my thing. But I don't know. I do think you do have to like niche down on your brand or your style. I don't know how that works.
And that do take time. That's something that you have to experiment. You have to kind of test the water. And does it click with you? Does it click with your audience? Is it something that makes you excited to do over and over again? Does it come naturally to you? Those are the different questions that you need to ask yourself as you try different things. Try white things for a little bit and look at it and take a little bit of time to go over it. And does that make you happy when you see it? If it makes you happy, it's going to make other people happy. The first thing when you're on social media is you have to satisfy yourself first, because one, you have to create the content and you have to be happy about the content before you can satisfy other people. Because once you feel comfortable with it, then you can start expanding out a little bit more and testing and adding new things, because you have to understand you are going to change. You are going to evolve as an artist. And that's the best thing about an artist, because you love certain things and you're going to gravitate certain things. And then know that people that gravitate towards you, they love what you are doing. Just remember that when you're creating content, because if you're happy with it, other people are going to be happy with it. And maybe you're not going to get as much like, but you know what? The algorithm sucks. I'll have to say that. And just ignore it and just produce content for the end goal. And what is your end goal? And I think that's something important that you need to understand yourself before you even create content. But that's something that is, again, mindset is so important as an artist, because most of the time we are working alone. And I have to tell you, I have a lot of private conversation with myself when I'm doing things because I don't have anyone to bounce things with. And it's so important to have that dialogue, to have that journal that you can bill out all your inner struggles, your accomplishments, so you can reflect and go back to see what you've done and what you struggle with and how you overcame that struggle, because that's an achievement in itself. Even if you're not shouting it to the world, at least you acknowledge it yourself, because as an artist, you have to be so strong inside to be like, this is my art. This is my stamp that I'm presenting to the world.
Yeah. And I feel like as long as it is somewhat consistent in a way, like where you are producing and you're not giving up, of course, people will love what you do because you love what you do. Yeah. But I feel just keeping consistent, you can't just have a hiatus for a little bit. Yeah. Like I know a lot of artists go through that, but during those times are going to be the time that you're going to lose that momentum, in a sense. So I do think give yourself time, but be consistent, whether it's even just doing it once a week, coming up with a new idea, coming up with a new product. When I was doing more products and really focusing in on my shop, like where you can actually purchase my paper flowers or like my accessories that I used to do, I actually had a kind of like a seasonal collection. So I really made sure like every season I came up with 10 new ideas or 20 new ideas. And like giving yourself that goal would also be a good idea, because sometimes we get so unmotivated at sometimes. And then sometimes we're like, yes, a good idea. But I think if you tell yourself, oh, within the summertime, I'm going to come up with 10 new looks. And to me, it's like a designer when they're coming up with a fashion show. It's like that. But if we're doing paper flowers, then come up with 10 new paper flowers, or like a really nice bouquet, or maybe 10 different styles of bouquets or something like that. So I do think when I used to practice that more, like every year I came up with 2 collections, and it was a really big deal. And I gave myself like a photo shoot date. And I think I took off like a month from work and just worked on that. I didn't take orders. And then like, I'll just say like February, the end of February, I need to come up with 20 different looks and do a photo shoot on that date. And it'll pressure you a little bit to make sure you come up with that. And then from there, you can spread all of those looks that you did throughout the months and until you come up with the next collection. So I do think maybe like a real goal would be nice too, because sometimes it gets a little overwhelming. Like right now, I don't do that. And so then I'm all over the place and I have 20 different ideas that I don't even ever go through. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I think exercising, that like coming up with a collection sounds much more, I don't know, put together.
Yeah, more cohesive.
So I do advise that.
Yeah, I love that too. I think one thing that I did when I had some downtime at the beginning of my career was I just love cherry blossom. And so I just put it out to the universe. I'm going to make thousands of cherry blossom and I'm going to put my own show together. And I reach out to all these different stores and I ask them, would you like a display? Can I display it in your store? And so I ended up doing almost like a walk around, but really you had to drive to all these different stores to see all the different displays. And it was really fun and so magical. And it was a great way to network with other small business and to bring traffic for them and for people to come and see your work. At the beginning, it was all my friends and their friends that kind of put the word out, but it was great. It was a huge boost in confidence in me. And it pushed me to try something completely different that I probably wouldn't have dared to try before. And I think those challenges that you put on yourself that you're very passionate about and you're like, I need to make this work. That's where you push yourself to the next level and you push yourself against other artists that are trying to do the same thing you're doing because you're widening your audience a bit more and understanding who your audience is. I think that's another important thing that you need to think about is who is your audience? Are they people that just want to look at your stuff? Is it people that want to buy your stuff? Is it those one-time people like, I'm just going to buy it for a special event and then I'm done? How do you cultivate that? And when you do have those one type of customers, which a lot of people out there do, they focus on weddings and it's a one-time event. How do you keep pushing out new content or recycling old content to get those customers to buy from you? And it's a hard struggle, I would have to say, is like trying to get new customers all the time and trying to be fresh and new and fun. It's a hard thing. And I think that's why a lot of people after 2 or 3 years in business, they're like, I just can't do this anymore. How do you push against that? How do you go to being 5 years, 10 years down the road? What makes you go, Sarah?
I don't know, because so many times I just want to give up too.
Yes,
So
right? I have those
I'm
moments
with,
too.
yeah. I'm like, what am I doing with my life? I need to go get a real job. No, sometimes, yeah, I do. I always have slow moments. My business, everybody asks me like, how much money do you make? And there are months that I make a lot of money compared to a pretty good salary too.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I make not a lot of money. So those down times are the times that I do try to sit down and keep myself motivated. But I do go through seasons where I'm like, maybe this is it. Maybe my job and my business is going down. Like I definitely get discouraged during those times. And I'm telling you, I do have a lot of months like that. I have a lot of busy months and then I have months that I do nothing. So I feel like those are the months that you're going to have to just push yourself and come up with new ideas, revamp some of the things that you have. Right now, actually, is my downtime in a sense, which I'm really scared. I've been telling everybody, I'm like, last year, January, February, I was so busy. So this year, seeing my analytics comparing to my new year last year, it's scary. It says 50% down. And I'm like, oh no,
no.
I'm behind. Yeah. And I've been telling everybody, I'm a little like scared of the situation. During this time is the time that I've been pumping out a lot of content instead of actually selling product, I guess. So I actually have a lot of fun. There is still pressure in the finances that I feel like I'm not performing as much, but I'm having a lot of fun producing new content. And like I said, one of my goals is to always grow my YouTube channel so that I could make income out of my videos, like real income. So instead of actually selling my products, I want to just get money through like the ads and stuff. And I feel like that's what I've been doing. It feels a little different because I feel like I'm not working. I'm not like selling my flowers. So I feel a little scared about it, but I think, you just need to go with the flow and don't give up.
Yeah.
I know this is so hard to say because even I want to give up. But back to what you were saying about going into stores and asking if they want to showcase your work, things like that. Local retail stores actually love having local artists do pop-ups too. Look into holidays where like Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, and showcase your work, do like a pop-up. That'll be another good way to have a goal of, I need to fill up a table to show my work and sell.
Yes.
So I think that'd be a good time to make your collection. So definitely look into that. I've done that at Madewell. I've done it at West Elm. Those are stores that do love having local artists. I want to say Anthropologie has craft shows too. Not craft shows, but like pop-ups, whatever they call it. Yeah. Craft shows are always a hit or miss for me though, because there's so many other artists that I'm like competing with. And then when I see other artists have a whole table like packed, it makes me feel really discouraged. Craft fairs is when you get to meet other people, other artists, or at least get to get your name out there. you're not just reaching to the audience that you're telling them to come to your craft show. It's all the artists that are their followers. So I think it is a good idea to try doing pop-ups and at least showcasing. For me, actually, I used to bring a bunch of wedding bouquets, like samples, and then I wouldn't necessarily sell my flowers at the pop-up, but I would tell them that I custom make the flowers. So you can order from me for bridal bouquets. And I used to do that at like wedding craft fairs or wedding pop-ups, whatever you call that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people don't realize how paper flowers, whether they're cardstock, crepe paper, or whatever materials that you're making out of these bouquets, people are so always astonished by the quality, the look, and it's something that maybe they didn't think about. They're like, I'm a crafty person. I want to show my crafty size, but I want this paper flower bouquet. And I think that's where you come in and showcase that it is possible to have a beautiful bouquet that really hits home for them. And I think that's the really important part is like, how do you showcase that? And I love doing all the different pops up. And just know that you're not going to make a lot of money to show, but you're planting the seed to when they do need that opportunity. Because you have to admit, doing a wedding, people do set aside for budget for certain things like this. And that's where a lot of people, when they start making paper flowers, they go into weddings, special events, because it's an easy shoe in. People are looking for it and they want it. I've definitely gotten a little bit away from weddings now that I'm a little bit more of an advanced paper flower. I'm focusing more on commercial work where I can slow down and focus on the details and make it in massive amount and have a bigger audience. That's where I'm getting my happy moments. One of the things I love is repetitive things. I love rewatching old shows again. To me, I don't mind that. I don't mind making 100 flowers of the same thing. Somehow it just makes me super happy. It's, oh, I can make this. And it's just mindless, but I'm enjoying that moment. I know a lot of people say, oh, I can only make it once and I'm done. Sarah, are you the same way?
That's actually, I am that. I cannot do repetitive work. And that's why I actually strayed away from the whole accessories, because I had to make the same thing over and they need to be pretty exact in measurement. And even the order of the beads, like the pearls, it has to go in the same order because they expect it to look like a certain way from the photos. So I really don't like making the same flowers. So when I get orders that I have to make thousands of flowers, like I really dread it. But that is when you make a lot of money at once. And companies, they have a lot of money for it, so they're willing to pay for it. But if you are like me and you don't like the repetitive work, I would actually say the wedding is more fun because you could make your own little bouquet and make it look more custom. But again, I feel like there's not a lot of money in weddings because brides are always on a budget. So then my new thing right now that I have been venturing into is doing giant flowers, because it can be in weddings. It can also be in retail window displays. And I only need to make a handful of flowers, like maybe 5 flowers, and it's ginormous. And I could charge a lot more for one flower than one small flower, which I don't understand because I actually spend the same amount of time. I feel like on the most part, I spend a lot of time doing a small flower too. It doesn't necessarily mean the small flower takes less time. It's just a lot more materials I get, but like materials, at least for me, I don't pay a lot for materials. I know crepe paper can get more pricier, but like cardstock paper, especially sometimes when I'm just painting a white sheet of paper, I can buy that in bulk. And it doesn't really cost a lot. So I have been going towards the giant flowers. And then the content-wise, the giant flowers, for whatever reason, always makes me go viral. So I have been trying to just pump out more giant flower type of content. And then like when I do get orders to do giant flowers, I can literally make one and I actually charge a lot for one. I would say just experiment even with sizes in a sense, because you don't have to necessarily make a small flower and sell that all the time. You can do big flowers. It looks different though, but I feel there's business in that too. Yeah. Like you can make,
we should totally do a class together. I'll fly down to California
I
and make it happen. Let's think about that. We should definitely do
I
that.
know.
It'll be so much fun.
Because I actually looked into trying to see if I want to offer that, but it is very specific. So I don't know how many people want to take that class like for fun.
Mm-hmm.
I think they would take it if they're more of a professional, like maybe even a paper artist, and then they want to get into it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's because my classes are definitely a class where it's just like with my girlfriend on a Saturday afternoon and it's cute. And that is what I try to like target. I don't target actually people that want to take it more seriously.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's why the store that I do my workshop at, the shop, they did say, I don't know, it feels like a hard sell and it's going to be a lot more serious, like a lot longer than my normal classes.
Yeah.
So we ended up still thinking about it. We're not there yet.
Okay.
But I have done a giant flower workshop private class for a whole bridal party where they made it for the bride. So it is a cute idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't have to make all the flowers. I have them make them. I just bring the stands and I teach them. And then we all came up out after the class, we had 20 flowers.
Yay.
If it were me and I had to make 20 giant flowers, it would take forever. But they're not going to look the best 20 flowers because it's their first 20 flowers. But honestly, when they are all bunched up on the side, they look great.
Yeah.
Even if they're not like professional.
Yes, I agree. It's how you like
So,
arrange it and stage it. All right, you guys. So we gave you a little snippet about this, but tell us, what other questions do you have for us about starting or running your business? Because between the two of us, we probably have over 20 years of business experience. And if you have questions, put it in the comments, DM us, let us know so we can put another episode with your questions and we can answer it. And to wrap up this particular episode, I'm going to ask you, what is your favorite snack right now, Sarah?
I actually went to the bargain market or grocery outlet. I think that's what you call it. And the grocery outlet is so much fun to walk around because it really is random and it's much cheaper because I think it's like maybe an overstock market. We found the Ritz handy snacks and they're like my childhood snack.
Yes.
It's like the thing that you dip into the cheese and the cheese is so fake tasting, but that's like my favorite thing. And yeah, even though it tastes like super fake cheese, I love it. And that's like my childhood snack. I don't know. But yeah, that's what I've been snacking on. What about you?
So I've been trying to be better. So in the morning, I've been making boiling hot water and then cutting up some fresh ginger slices. And of course, it's still citrus season. So I've been slicing up those little cuties, mandarin oranges, into a teapot and just steeping that with a little touch of honey. And it's been warming and it wakes up my body. And I really enjoy that.
Sounds like that's what I should be doing instead of my Ritz.
Oh, but thank you so much, everybody. Yes, if you have any questions about running your business, any type of creative business, because I feel like if you're running your business, there's a lot of things everyone have to do. And if you have any questions, let us know because we would love to do another episode that kind of answers your questions and we can share that with the entire audience because I'm pretty sure everyone's struggling with the same thing. So thank you so much for joining us today.